As people enter their later years, the question of where and how to live becomes a significant and deeply personal decision. For many, it's a reflection of their values, experiences, and the relationships they've nurtured throughout their lives. Some feel drawn to the comfort of living with family, while others prioritize maintaining their independence. For Elvira and Dave, this decision wasn't merely about a place to live, but about envisioning their future and the legacy they wanted to create. Their story highlights the importance of making choices that align with their personal desires and needs as they age, and how those choices can impact not only their own lives, but also the dynamics of family relationships. Elvira and Dave, a philosophy rooted in independence. Elvira and Dave, both in their late 60s, were faced with a decision that many aging couples must eventually confront. Their children, now grown adults with families and careers of their own, lived far from home. Both children had their own lives, and the thought of moving in with them was never an appealing option for Elvira and Dave. This sentiment wasn't born out of a sense of rebellion or resentment, but rather from a deep-rooted philosophy that shaped their approach to aging. Elvira and Dave were both strong believers in the value of independence. Throughout their marriage, they had built their lives together, always ensuring that they maintained their own space and autonomy. They believed that independence wasn't just about physical space, but about the mental and emotional freedom that comes with making decisions for oneself. When their children left home to start families of their own, Elvira and Dave were content to continue living in their family home, creating a space that was uniquely theirs. Elvira's own experience growing up had greatly influenced her views on this matter. She had spent years living with her in-laws before she and Dave married, and while she loved her in-laws, she knew firsthand the challenges that came with sharing a living space for extended periods of time. Differences in lifestyle, expectations, and generational gaps created subtle tensions that, over time, took their toll on family dynamics. The decision to stay independent. As Elvira and Dave approached their later years, their decision became clearer. They would not live with their children. Instead, they would stay in their home, finding ways to adjust their living situation to ensure their independence while still maintaining strong family bonds. This decision wasn't easy, and it wasn't made lightly. The thought of growing older without the daily support of their children was difficult to imagine, but they believed it was the right path for them. To prepare for the future, Elvira and Dave began researching alternatives to living with their children. They explored the possibility of moving into a smaller, more manageable home, one that would be easier to maintain as they grew older. They also looked into senior communities that offered both independent living and the support they might need in the future. They were careful to choose a place that would allow them to live independently for as long as possible while also providing access to medical care and social activities. One of the key factors in their decision was the desire to remain close to their children without living under the same roof. They didn't want to intrude on their children's lives or impose any expectations. Instead, they envisioned a situation where they could visit each other regularly, attend family gatherings, and enjoy their children's company without the strains of daily living together. This arrangement would allow them to maintain their own routines, friends, and hobbies, all while staying connected to the people they loved. "We didn't want to be a burden," Dave said, his voice quiet but resolute. "We wanted to make sure our kids could continue living their lives without feeling like they had to take care of us all the time. They have their own families to raise, and we didn't want to get in the way." The challenges of maintaining independence. Despite their firm belief in the importance of independence, Elvira and Dave soon realized that the process of aging comes with its own set of challenges. As they entered their 70s, simple tasks like cleaning the house, maintaining the yard, and even preparing meals became more difficult. Their bodies weren't as strong as they used to be, and the toll of time was beginning to show. They knew that maintaining their independence would require adjustments, but they were determined to do so without compromising their dignity. To make life easier, Elvira and Dave hired a part-time caretaker to assist with household chores and errands. This person, a kind woman named Maria, came a few times a week to help with cleaning and shopping. While they were grateful for her assistance, they were careful not to let her do too much. They still wanted to feel as though they were in control of their own lives. The balance was delicate, but they managed it with grace and respect for each other's autonomy. The couple also made a few modifications to their home to accommodate their changing needs. They installed grab bars in the bathroom, widened the doorways for easier access, and made sure their kitchen was well lit and easy to navigate. These small changes allowed them to continue living in their home comfortably and safely, without feeling like they were giving up their independence, staying connected to family. While Elvira and Dave were committed to maintaining their independence, they also knew the importance of staying connected to their children and grandchildren. They made it a point to visit their children regularly, whether it was for a holiday, a birthday, or just a quiet afternoon spent together. They also enjoyed hosting family gatherings at their home, where everyone could come together to share a meal and catch up on each other's lives. In addition to family visits, Elvira and Dave made sure to stay engaged with their local community. They attended social events, joined clubs, and participated in activities that kept their minds sharp and their spirits high. They were active members of their church and volunteered at a nearby food bank. For them, staying involved in the community was just as important as maintaining their family connections. We may not live under the same roof as our children, but that doesn't mean we don't see them often, Elvira said with a smile. We're lucky to have a close family, and we make the effort to stay connected. That's what keeps us going. The importance of independence and autonomy. Elvira and Dave's decision to remain independent in their later years reflects a broader trend among many aging individuals who value autonomy and self-sufficiency. For them, independence is not just about living alone, but about maintaining control over their lives and their choices. This sense of autonomy is crucial for preserving dignity and self-worth as one ages. Research has shown that maintaining independence as we grow older has significant benefits for both mental and physical health. Studies have found that individuals who are able to live independently are more likely to have better cognitive function, fewer instances of depression, and a higher overall quality of life. The key, however, is ensuring that this independence is supported by the right resources and a strong network of family, friends, and community. For Elvira and Dave, their decision to maintain independence allowed them to age with grace and dignity. They were able to continue living in a home they loved, surrounded by their memories and possessions, and they didn't have to rely on others for everything. At the same time, they remained closely connected to their family and community, which provided them with a strong support system. Elvira and Dave, a commitment to independence. Elvira and her husband Dave had always placed a high value on independence, both for themselves and their children. As parents, they encouraged their two children, Max and Olivia, to build their own lives and homes after marriage, far from the complexities of living under the same roof. They believed that this would allow their children to thrive in their own right and avoid the tension that often arises from multi-generational living. When Max married Sarah, the couple encountered a financial setback that left them temporarily unable to purchase their own home. With limited options, they asked Elvira and Dave if they could stay with them while they got back on their feet. Elvira, while empathetic to their situation, set a firm boundary. She agreed to let them stay, but only for a period of 3 months. For Elvira, this decision was not about being rigid or harsh, but rather about ensuring that Max and Sarah would learn the value of self-reliance. She explained that living together for extended periods often led to unnecessary tensions, which could ultimately undermine the close relationship they had worked hard to maintain. When the 3 months were up, Max and Sarah moved into their own apartment, not far from Elvira and Dave's home. This arrangement allowed the young couple to maintain their independence while still benefiting from regular family visits. The dynamic worked well for everyone involved. Olivia, their daughter, bought an apartment just next door to her parents, making it easy for her to visit while maintaining her own space. Weekends were spent together, sharing meals, enjoying each other's company, and celebrating family milestones. The balance between independence and togetherness provided Elvira and Dave with a fulfilling lifestyle, allowing them to remain actively involved in their children's lives while respecting the boundaries that promoted their independence. The role of social connection in aging. As Elvira and Dave approached retirement, they began to consider the next phase of their lives, particularly in terms of their home. Their current home was a large 4-story house that had become increasingly difficult to manage. The maintenance was demanding, and they wanted to downsize to something simpler, ideally a smaller apartment. However, their decision went beyond just practical considerations. They were also thinking ahead to their retirement years and what kind of living situation would offer them the best quality of life. Rather than relying on their children for support, Elvira and Dave had already made plans to sell their home and use the proceeds to purchase a smaller apartment. They also set aside a portion of the money for their retirement, ensuring they could live comfortably without burdening their children. If they required help in the future, they intended to hire professional caregivers or explore senior living communities rather than depending on their children. This approach reflected a broader trend among seniors who prefer to maintain control over their lives as they age. Many, like Elvira and Dave, feel that maintaining independence in later years allows them to preserve their dignity and avoid placing undue strain on their children. They view aging as a time to simplify their lives, enjoy their remaining years, and remain as self-sufficient as possible. The option of senior communities has also become increasingly popular, offering a range of amenities and services designed to enhance seniors' quality of life while still providing opportunities for socialization and support. Sarah's perspective. Choosing rural life over urban convenience. Elvira's close friend Sarah offers another example of a senior choosing to live independently, despite her children's suggestions that she move in with them. Sarah's children, both married and living in the city, had frequently asked her to move in with them, citing convenience and the ability to help care for her as they aged. However, Sarah, who had spent most of her life in the countryside, was firmly set in her decision to remain in her rural home. "I enjoy living in the countryside," Sarah explained. "My friends are here, and the freedom I have in this environment is something I treasure. In the city, everything feels rushed. People come and go, and there's very little interaction." Sarah was keenly aware of the disconnect between the fast-paced lives of her children in the city and the slower, more connected lifestyle she enjoyed in her rural community. In the city, her children's lives were dominated by work, leaving little time for meaningful connection with one another or with her. She feared that moving into their urban setting would not only disrupt her peace but would also distance her from the very community that provided her with a sense of belonging. Moreover, Sarah had already made provisions for her future. Although she loved the countryside, she knew that should her health decline, her children would not be able to provide the 24/7 care she would need. So, Sarah made arrangements to hire a caregiver to assist with her daily needs should the need arise. This decision reflected her desire to retain her independence without imposing on her children or feeling like a burden. The changing perception of nursing homes. As attitudes toward nursing homes shift, seniors like Mr. James, who we'll refer to as Mr. Essay, have also embraced the idea of community living. Mr. Essay, who had been living alone in a rural home after the death of his wife, was urged by his children to move to the city to live with them. Although he initially agreed, he soon found that city life did not suit him. The bustling environment left him feeling isolated and disconnected from the world around him. He missed the camaraderie of his former community and longed for the social interaction he had once enjoyed. After much consideration, Mr. Essay decided to explore the option of a nursing home. His children were initially resistant to the idea, but Mr. Essay convinced them to let him try it for a few months. To everyone's surprise, he thrived in the nursing home environment. Surrounded by peers who were also navigating the challenges of aging, he found a renewed sense of purpose. His health improved, and he was able to receive the care he needed to manage his condition. His children, though initially uncertain, were relieved to see their father so content in his new home. They visited him often, knowing that he was in a supportive environment that allowed him to maintain his independence while receiving the necessary care. The changing landscape of aging and independence aging is a universal experience, yet each individual's journey is uniquely shaped by personal choices, family dynamics, and social circumstances. As society continues to evolve, so too do the expectations and realities of aging. One of the most profound decisions elderly individuals face is how to spend their later years. While traditional models of multi-generational living, where children care for their aging parents under the same roof, were once commonplace, this trend is increasingly giving way to alternative living arrangements. Many seniors today are making deliberate choices to maintain their independence, whether by living in their own homes, moving to smaller apartments, or opting for life in a nursing home. This shift reflects deeper societal changes influenced by cultural, economic, and personal factors. The notion of living with one's children in their later years, once considered the default and even ideal option, is now viewed by many seniors as neither necessary nor desirable. Instead, they are seeking fulfillment and peace on their own terms, often making decisions that prioritize self-sufficiency, dignity, and the pursuit of personal happiness. But what does it really mean to choose independence in the later years of life? And how do seniors navigate the complexities of aging, loss, and the evolving relationship with their children? Navigating independence in the later years. The decision to live independently in one's later years is not an easy one. It requires significant reflection, emotional maturity, and sometimes the courage to make decisions that may not align with traditional expectations. Elvira and Dave, a couple in their 70s, exemplify this modern approach to aging. Their decision to maintain independence, even as they grow older, is rooted in their desire to live life on their own terms. Having encouraged their children, Max and Olivia, to create their own homes after marriage, Elvira and Dave firmly believe that a self-sufficient lifestyle is key to both their happiness and the harmony of family relationships. When their son, Max, struggling financially after his wedding, asked to move back home for a while, Elvira agreed, but with firm boundaries. She made it clear that the arrangement would be temporary, a maximum of 3 months, and that it would be a stepping stone for Max and Sarah to regain their independence. It wasn't about being tough, Elvira explained, but about ensuring that Max and Sarah would learn to stand on their own feet, even if the process was uncomfortable. This mindset helped her children understand the value of independence and the importance of creating their own lives separate from their parents. Today, Max and his wife Sarah live just 10 minutes away, and Olivia, their daughter, bought an apartment near her parents' home. The family gathers every weekend at Elvira and Dave's for meals and shared moments, but each member has their own space, ensuring a balance between closeness and personal autonomy. This dynamic not only nurtures individual growth but also strengthens familial bonds, proving that distance can sometimes enhance connection. The changing attitudes toward nursing homes. This desire for independence and control over one's life is not limited to Elvira and Dave. It is a growing trend among seniors like Sarah, Elvira's close friend, who also made the deliberate choice to remain in her rural home despite her children's offers to live with them in the city. Sarah's decision reflects a broader shift in how older generations view aging. For Sarah, the countryside offers a quality of life that the city cannot match: peace, community, and a slower, more meaningful rhythm of life. She enjoys the freedom of living in a close-knit village where she can engage with friends and nature in a way that feels nurturing and fulfilling. Sarah's thoughts on city life are telling. She describes the hustle and bustle of urban living, with people constantly rushing from one place to another, barely acknowledging each other in passing. The city, for her, feels impersonal and isolating, even though it is filled with people. In contrast, her life in the countryside offers something invaluable: genuine connection and a sense of belonging. Sarah is aware that as she ages, there may come a time when she needs help, but she has already made plans to hire a caregiver if necessary. Her children, though supportive, do not need to take on the responsibility of caregiving. Instead, Sarah is determined to live life on her own terms, independent but connected to the people she loves. The emotional complexity of aging and independence. Aging is often accompanied by emotional and psychological challenges, particularly when it comes to the idea of dependence. While Sarah's story is one of empowerment and control, the reality is that for many seniors, aging can bring up feelings of vulnerability and fear. The traditional expectation that children will take on the responsibility of caring for their aging parents can create tension, particularly when that care requires personal sacrifice. Many adult children feel the weight of this expectation, but their lives are often too busy to provide the level of care that their parents need. Rem, for example, faced this dilemma after the death of her husband. She made the bold decision to move into a nursing home, a choice that initially shocked her children. They believed that it was their duty to care for her, but Rem was resolute in her decision. "I have lived my life," she told them, "and now I want to live it the way that makes sense for me." In the nursing home, Rem found a community of peers, structured care, and social activities that enriched her life in ways that living with her children simply could not. Over time, her children saw that their mother was not only well cared for, but thriving in her new environment. They visited her regularly, and the guilt they initially felt about not providing care themselves gradually dissipated. Reem's decision to live in a nursing home exemplifies how the stigma around such facilities is beginning to shift. No longer seen as a last resort or a sign of neglect, nursing homes are increasingly viewed as viable options for seniors who want to maintain their independence while receiving the necessary care and support. For many, a nursing home offers a balanced life, one that combines autonomy with the safety of professional care, something that would be difficult to achieve in a home with children who are unable to provide round-the-clock assistance. Redefining aging and the importance of resilience. In the stories of Elvira, Sarah, and Reem, we see a broader narrative about the evolving nature of aging. Increasingly, seniors are choosing options that prioritize their well-being, dignity, and happiness. The days when aging meant depending on children for physical, emotional, and financial support are becoming a thing of the past. Today's seniors are more likely to take matters into their own hands, whether that means living independently, moving into a nursing home, or finding alternative living arrangements that suit their needs. However, it is important to note that the choice to live independently, whether in a smaller home, an apartment, or a nursing home, is often accompanied by a period of emotional adjustment. Losing a spouse, for example, is one of the most profound losses anyone can experience. When Maki lost her husband, she was left with an overwhelming sense of emptiness. The routines that had once filled their home, shared meals, conversations, and quiet companionship, vanished, leaving her to navigate the painful silence. Yet Maki also acknowledged the inevitability of death and the need to find gratitude for the time they had shared. "Life is unpredictable," she reflected. "You never know how long the person you love will be by your side. Life is like a train journey, and everyone can only accompany you for part of the ride." The grief that follows the loss of a spouse can feel all-consuming, and it can take time to find one's way again. But as Maki's story shows, there is also the potential for resilience. Over time, she rediscovered the strength to live on, cherishing the memories of her husband while embracing the reality of her life without him. It is this kind of resilience, the ability to continue forward, even when the past is filled with loss, that is at the heart of modern aging. Aging with dignity and choice. In today's world, aging is no longer synonymous with dependence. Rather, it is a time for seniors to take ownership of their lives and make decisions that reflect their needs and desires. Whether that means living independently in a smaller home, moving to a senior community, or seeking the support of a nursing home. The key is that the choice is theirs. By embracing autonomy and making decisions based on what brings them peace and fulfillment, seniors are redefining what it means to grow old. The ultimate goal is not simply survival, but the pursuit of joy, independence, and dignity in the later years of life.